Good morning, all, and welcome to E Squared Empowerment with Elysia, connecting, inspiring, and changing the world. Today, we are streaming through our private women's group, Phoenix Rising Women's Group, and we have the great pleasure and honor of getting to connect with Jessica Karwat, coming to us from Berlin, Germany. She is going to be talking to us about how our hormones impact our bodies and just the menstrual cycle, and how it's so much more than just like our period, and how linking into our bodies, becoming more embodied, can actually empower us and impact our workplace and other things. She's a women's holistic health coach, an empowerment coach. She does fitness training. She does as like holy fire Reiki. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And she's a certified vegan like nutritionist. I didn't even know that was a thing, but it makes sense to me that would be. And it's so there's so many things that Jessica can talk to us about today. So Jessica, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to speak about this because this is really like a passion of mine. I'm here to really spread the word, and I really believe everyone should know what I will talk to you about today because it's going to change your world. I know that because it did. It with me, it is doing with my clients, and I know it will change yours too.
No, that's so fantastic. I mean, it's been really fascinating because just recently I started to see some of these little like memes come up or whatnot, talking about the different types of exercise that we can do during the different times of our cycle. And I was like, what? This totally makes sense and is awesome to have a little bit more guidance. Because even at like 41, almost 42 years old, I'm just like, I would love to know more about how I can support my body and what I'm eating and what I'm doing during the different times of my cycle to make life just a little bit easier. So tell us a little bit more about like what started your journey into wanting to become this kind of coach for holistic health for women.
Yeah, definitely. So, my journey started when I started working in the corporate world. I followed let's say, the path that society wants you to follow, right? It's like
Sure.
finish school, go studying, and then get a job. And that's what I did. So I thought I was gonna have this beautiful marketing career, and I wanted to get into marketing because I wanted to be creative. I wanted to help people. I just didn't know how, and I was like, okay, marketing is going to be the best way. So I started working as a marketing assistant in an ad tech firm, and that is when things started to change for me. I just stopped taking birth control, and my body was starting to change. I developed very bad hormonal acne all over my face, my neck. It was really bad, like to a point where being a young woman, I can understand if you struggle with it, how much it affects you, your confidence. I didn't want to go out, I didn't want to go on dates, I didn't want people to look at me. Basically, at a time where like you're supposed to go out and have fun, I was so ashamed of how I looked and how I felt. So with that, it started to get worse when I was working in the corporate world, and I started to have all of these responsibilities on me, and I also, before that already, I started struggling with an eating disorder. So I didn't realize it. It all kind of like it all came together at one time when everything started to like make click for me that something was really off. And so I always had a hard time dealing with emotions, and I had a lot of trauma and all of that. So there was just so many things that like became this cocktail, let's say, of like here the hormonal imbalance, here the eating disorder, here I was working out 7 days a week, trying to stay skinny. Here I was like struggling with my eating. Then the work stress came into it as well. And I just started feeling like I was literally burning out. I was like, okay, what is going on inside of me? This is not normal. I'm young and I'm not supposed to feel this way.
Yeah.
And so I decided to take a step back. I quit my job because I knew that going Mondays to Fridays, 9 hours to the office, I was not gonna be able to find myself during this time. It was just gonna get worse. And I remember my mom called me just before I quit my job, and she said to me on the phone like, I don't recognize you. I don't know who you are. Because I
Mm,
couldn't even talk to her anymore. Like I was so irritated with everything.
yeah.
I had insomnia. I like, literally, as I said, cocktail of things that were all like building up, and it was getting worse and worse. So again, I took a step back and I was like, okay, moved back to my mom because of course I didn't have a job. My mom was in the world, so she was very, of course, my mom would never, leave me alone.
Sure.
And so that's a time when I started finding back to myself, and I decided to study vegan nutrition. I decided to become a fitness trainer, and that's when slowly I was getting into the world of coaching. And I got my first job as an assistant coach working for another coach in the online space. And that was like a moment of, oh my God, I love this. Like, I want to help people. I saw the impact that, my work had on these people and how I was able to help them and really help them change their lives. But I was working both with men and women, and I started seeing so many things in these women that I was coaching that I saw in myself as well. So the eating disorder was still kind of there on my side, and I started seeing it in other women. But also, one thing that started happening was the menstrual cycle part. So many women were telling me, like, hey, I'm in so much pain. This is normal. I feel more tired. Like, why, one day, 1 week of my cycle, I can really work out hard, and the other, I cannot. And so I saw the same thing in myself, and I was like, I didn't have the answer. I didn't know. So I started looking more into the menstrual cycle, and then it like this this whole new world opened up to me, and it all started clicking. I was like, oh my God, of course. Like, it just only makes sense that we are not men. We are not little men, right? We are not machines. We have actually like, hormones that fluctuate each month, and they affect us, and they affect the way we think, we feel, our mood, our energy, our cravings, all of it. And I was like, oh my God, how did I not know this? And so I decided to quit that job because I no longer, because the program I was in was very like strict fitness weight loss. And I no longer aligned with that. I was like, okay, there must be a more holistic approach to helping women if they want to lose weight. Not it being a wrong thing, but helping them doing it in a way that they can enjoy food and heal holistically, right, with their menstrual cycle. So that's when I quit that job. I created my own program. And since then, of course, not only healed myself, I don't have period pain anymore. I don't have all of these things that I struggled with for so long. I mean, my skin is clear. And
No
it used to
headaches?
be
No,
bad. No,
no period headaches?
no, I don't
No
have that.
cramping?
No, I don't have that. Yes, and so that's where I am right now on this journey of like, I've been doing this now as a coach myself in my program for 2 years, and it really transformed a lot because in the beginning it was still very this focus on the the health, the weight loss. And now I literally just launched a program yesterday, which is called Empower.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Which is the nutrition and training is not as in like you get a meal plan, you get a training plan that is part of another program, but this program is really for women, for anyone that works, basically, that felt exactly like I felt. And it's the first time I'm ever launching something that is not, hey, lose weight with me, but it's something more of like helping you really, work with your cycle, sync with your cycle, and reprogram your mind as well, because it's all connected. It's all this whole picture, right? So this is what I do now, and again, I have these different offerings, but I truly believe in the power of holistic healing and not only looking at one thing at a time. That's why I know you're very similar. I don't like this fitness world, dieting culture. It really is not something that I'm in, and I don't support because I don't believe in it, because it effed me up, let's say, right? It just triggered my eating disorder even more. It triggered my overworking even more. And so here I am just trying to show the world like, hey, you can heal holistically. You can achieve all of these goals by being more gentle with yourself and learning about yourself and creating that awareness for yourself and your body. Now that was a long intro. I apologize.
No, it's totally fine. I was just thinking about how grateful I am that we have some women in this group who do the fitness and the nutritional coaching and stuff like that, but they do it differently than what is standard in the industry. Because like any industry, like you have some people within it that are more balanced in their presentation and how they hold people, and people that are in a different part of their journey and how they present and meet people that are in that part of their journey. Because it's just like, yeah, it pieces along. But yeah, no, I love the holistic aspect of things. No, it's just
Yeah,
like with coaching, having the foundational portion be like about emotional mastery and working on personal accountability. right? And not having that shame that goes along with so much of our inner tape, and being able to just be like, okay, here's our solid, here's where we start. We start at the foundation. You don't
Yeah,
jump to like the third level because that's like where you're at, right? Just
exactly.
really breaking it down and seeing where the holes are, the blind spots for each person, right? Because a person might have a little bit of knowledge over here, but not so much over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're good with long intros here. People listen to the
Yeah.
intros to my shows and they're just like, okay, we're just gonna go like a minute and a half in when she's done like with all the accolades of how awesome the people are on her show. Um, so yeah, when you were in that journey, like what were some of the ways that you managed some of the shame that you might have had with that process? If you did have shame.
Shame on what exactly?
So like part of like I feel like so for women oftentimes we have our like internal tape with body image stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I still, until this day, I get a lot of hate. I get a lot of like online because I show myself, hey, this was me before, this was me after. But for me, it's not about the physical because if you read my post and if you know me, you know that the before I was not well. And to me, it's not again about the physical. It's the transformation that I went through, the person that I've become, and the steps that I needed to take to become the person that I am today, right? And it's the same thing for the women that I coach. Again, a lot of women work with me, they don't even want to work on their weight. They want to get to know themselves better.
That's
A lot.
beautiful because it's like a default, right?
Exactly. Like, if you were to look at the clients that I have right now in my current program, 50% of people are like, yes, I'm here for the physical change, and I want to learn to deal with my emotional eating, for example, and get to know myself better. And the other 50% is there because they're like, I don't know who I am. I need to get to know myself better. And that's how I create, this program. And that's why when outside people come to me and criticize me for my work, not even knowing what I'm doing, I'm just
Mm,
like, okay, whatever. You're not the person I want to talk to, because most people that I attract are people that have tried so many things before nothing has worked,
yeah.
and then they come to me and they're like, finally understand where it hasn't worked before, right? And so to me, like the whole body shaming or all of that, um, it was a process for myself as well, right? Because I used to be very, very hard on myself. I always thought, I had to always had abs every single day, and I had to have this huge ass or whatever, Don't take you know what I
No,
mean,
no,
right?
no. I love your transparency and candor. It's great.
But it's true, and there was a time when I became a coach, and oh my god, the comparison was so real, because here I am just starting out, and there are these huge coaches that have these perfectly sculpted fitness bodies that I didn't have and I will never have because I don't work out as much as them, and that's not even my goal. But back then, of course, I looked at them and they had like millions of clients and millions of followers, and here I am just starting out as a coach, trying to convince people to like come to my program because you're gonna do it in another way, right? So of course, what I've seen as well is people like to go to the quick fix a lot of times, and they don't realize like, hey, it's not necessarily about the weight loss, it's about who you become and what you learn about yourself. And the weight loss, the body change is gonna follow, right? But it's really about who you become throughout this process. And I've seen this as well. So many, women will always tell me like, I didn't even focus on the nutrition and training as much as I thought I would have to. I focused on the other tasks that you gave us and the other tools. And here I am, I lost 20 pounds in, 4 months. How did it happen? And I was like, yeah, because you did the work, right? So that's why, again, whenever I get negativity towards me, I just know that there's so many people out there that will understand my message. So I will attract the right people, and the people that are not meant to be around me are not, right?
Yeah, it's so beautiful to get to stay in alignment with who it is that we are, and having faith that the right, like that's the whole abundance mindset, that like when we are our full selves, then the right people will be pulled in, will be attracted to us that want to do the work.
Exactly,
They'll get
exactly.
better results. Speaking of results, you've got a fantastic PowerPoint presentation that I have gotten to see when we were in Isabella Rodriguez's group call, which is where I first met Jessica, and I got to see her whole presentation, and I was like, this presentation is amazing. I have to have her on my show. So Jessica, go ahead and share your screen, and if you would like to take it away, then go right ahead.
I will. I will probably just skip the first slides because we talked about myself already. So again, but yeah, flow with your cycle in life and work. Again, as I said, something that completely changed my life, and something that I'm very excited to talk to you about today. Let me go ahead. This is just what we're going to be covering. Disclaimer: it's not medical advice, right? It's always good to say that. If you do have any medical problems, please go to a doctor. And again, anything that you're going to be using in this presentation is on your own responsibility, right? So
Yes, absolutely.
that as I think I mentioned all of it. I worked, with hundreds of clients worldwide at this point, and it's just been incredible. I'm still in contact with some of them, and they're actually coming back now to a new membership that I just created, and it's so wonderful to I always see my clients as friends as well, and I'm like, I have like so many friends all around the world. How beautiful is that? And it's just so wonderful to create a community. This is some of our client feedback. This is a small snippet of all of the beautiful ladies that some of the beautiful ladies that have worked with me and their feedback. And yeah, what I like to start with usually is get to know yourself a little bit better, right? So we don't have to go through all of these questions, but if you're watching this live or if you're watching the recording, either way, pause this and do this later. But these are a couple of journal prompts that I think are going to help you connect back a little bit more with yourself and understand who you are as a person, and how your relationship with your menstrual cycle is, right? And how you want to work on it, and where you want to go with it. Because a lot of times, it's a taboo. We don't want to talk about it, right? Especially I heard from so many clients from the US, like people don't talk about it, like don't show your tampon or whatever. But it's a fact, I've heard this so many times, but we are here to change the world. So don't be scared to talk about it with your girlfriends. Don't be scared to talk about it with your boss if you need to, right? Because when you start, other women are going to feel empowered to do that too. But in order for you to be able to do that, these are a couple of journal prompts that you can start with and get a better understanding of yourself. So again, pause this and do this at a point that feels right for you. Now, what is the menstrual cycle? We've all heard about the menstrual cycle before, of course, but what I feel has been done a little bit wrong in our system, in our school system, is that we are not taught enough, right? We learn about our period that comes once a month, possibly, right? Hopefully, if you have a regular cycle, and somewhere in the middle you ovulate, and be careful because ovulation means you can get pregnant, and that's what I remember from school.
Yeah, me too, basically.
Right? For example, I remember I wasn't on the pill when I was younger, and I still thought I'm ovulating on the pill. When you are on the pill, you're not ovulating because you're not meant to get pregnant. And that was a belief that I had. And I remember going to the gynecologist once, and I was on a pill, and I told her I have lower belly pain, and I think I'm ovulating. And she looked at me, she's like, you can't ovulate. No one ever taught me that because I didn't know. How am I supposed to know? This is something that is very basic knowledge, but we should all know, right?
Yeah.
And it's very common for a lot of women not knowing this stuff. But if you think about this as well, we start our menstrual cycle. It can happen as early as 10 years old, right?
Wow.
I had a client who got it at 10 years old, and it will end at around 45 to 55, right? This is where you get into perimenopause and then you enter menopause. So this is a freaking long time of your life where you have your menstrual cycle. And so that's why I know this knowledge that I'm going to teach you today is so important, and it's going to change your life. So we need to understand that the cycle can vary from woman to woman in terms of length, but the average is about 28 days, right? Mine is longer. Mine is usually around 34 days, which is almost the max. Going longer than that, there might be something off. You might be having PCOS, or you would like to look if everything is all right with you, right? But 34 days, people have 27-day cycles up to 35 days, which is a very normal norm if you have it regularly, right? And so, as I already mentioned, our body is going through a lot of hormonal changes throughout the month. And these hormonal changes, I've seen, funny story, a client that I worked with a year ago, when I was teaching her this stuff, she was like, you know what, Jess, for the longest time, I thought I was bipolar. Because the moment I stopped ovulating, my mood changed, I changed as a person, and I thought something was wrong with me. And there she was, her hormones were just fluctuating and she didn't know. And she wanted to continue having this high mood, being super positive throughout the entire month. But here her body was changing internally without her knowing, without her realizing and thinking. She was going crazy. She was like, I'm a different person, right? But when we started working on it, of course, it became less and less because she learned how to support her body the best way. And that's the thing, like, it's constantly changing and we need to learn, we need to have the tools in place in order for us to support ourselves the best way. When we don't know what's going on, we also don't know which tools to use, right? And even though the menstrual cycle is complex, what I'm trying to share here with you is how simplified it can be. You don't have to do it all perfect. I certainly don't do it all perfect, but I do the necessary things for me that help me create the best cycle that I can have, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just understand, like, it's just important for you to understand that there are certain things that you can do in terms of nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, your work, even your relationship, right? To really do the right thing for each phase of the cycle. Now, yeah, I think I mentioned everything that's on the slide. So, oops, wait, sorry.
Okay.
Hormones. Hormones are something that I heard about, but I never really understood how much it really, like how present it is in our everyday life. And so hormones, we need to understand, are our body's messengers, right? And they literally tell our bodies when to sleep, when to grow, when to eat, what to eat. They give us appetite, they affect our sex drive, they affect our mood. And so when we see this, we're like, this is quite a lot, right? So a lot of times we're like, oh my God, why am I so hungry? What's wrong with me? It might be because there is a hormone that's literally telling you that you're hungry because of stress, or because you haven't eaten enough, or because you haven't slept enough, right? It's all interconnected. That's why we as women, we are not little men. And going back to a personal story of mine, when I started dating my partner, um, I always felt like, why can't I keep up with him? Like, we both like going to the gym. I like to lift weights and I really enjoy this part of the workout, or of my workouts that I do. And so I created this fitness plan for myself that I would go for 4 weeks straight, and I would create, and this is what's gonna like happen, and I'm gonna, work out every single day or like 5 times a week and without a break and whatever. And so I realized very quickly, like, it's not possible. Like, why am I feeling so tired some of the days? And why is he able to push through while I'm dying? Like, literally, I'm too tired. I cannot lift that heavy as I used to. I got injured as well at some point. And I felt like something was wrong with me. I felt like, why can he do it and why can't I?
Yeah.
Because of that, because our hormones change. Our hormones fluctuate, right? So that's just something for you to remember, that, our bodies work differently. And of course, men have hormones too, just different types of hormones, and more and less of something that we don't have, right? Just keep that in mind. And so the two important hormones that I think you should remember for you to understand what's going on in your body and how to support your body the best way are the hormone estrogen and progesterone. So you can see these two hormones as yin and yang. They are both needed. They're both needed in enough and not too little, right? Because you can have enough of this or enough of, not enough, too much of this, too much of that, or too little of this and too little of that. What you want to have is literally the perfect balance of both. If one of them is too much or too little, you're going to experience a hormonal imbalance, which can be period pain, which can be mood swings, which can be PMS, which can be breast tenderness, any type of symptoms that we have, right? That we can have. So, of course, there are more hormones that play a role in our cycle, but these two cause usually the biggest trouble in women. And I see this in my clients, I saw this in myself. I used to have an estrogen dominance to a point where my boobs would hurt so badly I couldn't walk. Like, and I have small boobs, I don't have big boobs, right? So like, I was walking, I could not, it hurt so badly. And they were like triple the size because my
Wow.
estrogen was so dominant because of so much stress that I literally looked like I had a boob job. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I liked pictures. I was like, my bikini pictures are extra on point today. But other than that, I felt miserable, right? Because like
Right.
I knew something was off. And that, there are different signs, of course, that you can look at to see, okay, what's going on. But that was a big sign to me that, oh yeah, something is off right there. It's not supposed to be this way, right? A little bit sometimes of pressure and stuff. It's very common because we live in a world where things are moving fast, we are stressed, stuff is happening, and we are all affected by the energy, right? That's why it's especially important during these times. It's especially important to take care of yourself, right? Don't forget your own needs. um, Anyways, so when it comes to estrogen, estrogen is responsible for many processes in the female body. So men have estrogen too, just in a much lower amount, right? So that's why it's not really affecting them. And it's also, of course, for responsible for female characteristics. And estrogen is produced in the ovary, so especially in the adrenal glands and fat tissue, makes small amounts. So, fun fact: if you are overweight to a point where the doctor might be saying like, hey, maybe to lose a little bit of weight to become healthier because you might be, I don't know, having diabetes or on the edge of getting diabetes, fat tissue makes estrogen as well. So when you do have a hormonal imbalance, it can be connected to it as well, right? So you want to still make sure you have a healthy weight so that your hormones are balanced, because it's all, again, I say it a million times to my clients, are like, we know it's all connected. Right?
Yeah, because I've heard in the past that like if a woman loses too much body fat, she actually her period can stop.
Yes, of course, same thing here. Too much, too little is not good, right? Either way. And that happened to me as well, right? When I stopped taking birth control, I lost a lot of weight quickly because I was also just going through a breakup. I didn't eat, and my period was gone for like 6 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I looked like I didn't look great. I didn't look great. Looking back now, my body dysmorphia that I had back then as well was like, or you still should lose weight. Now looking at these pictures, I'm like, oh my God, how did I didn't even realize, right? Back
You're
then.
like, girl, eat some ice cream.
And I was like, the pictures that my mom took of me were in Barcelona, and I remember I was eating all the time. So to me, I think it was the stress as well with like the
Yeah.
breakup, and my body was just going through so much, right? Don't underestimate that as well. It's crazy, right? So again, everything is connected. So you always want to have a big picture and see, okay, what is going on instead of blaming it on one thing. But of course, take it step by step. Don't try to tackle it all at once, right? It's really like a step by step process. Why estrogen is important as well: it's important for dementia, bone density loss, heart diseases, high blood pressure, right? So it protects from these things, and it has a big effect on mood. It also stimulates bone and muscle growth. And so why women in menopause or perimenopause, when they're about to get into full menopause, struggle with weight gain and have a harder time gaining muscle, it's because they're producing less and less and less estrogen, right? So that's why it's especially important that now, if you're age 20 or if you're age 40 or 50, focus on these things as much as you can, because it still matters, right? It's not over yet, but the more you do for yourself now, the healthier you're going to be, of course, later on as well. Don't wait for the last minute. That's why I also always say like, oh, I don't have time for this right now. I'm like, you don't have time for your health? It's your health. It's your utmost priority. If you're not well, you won't be able to be, to lead your business, to be there for your clients. You won't be able to be there for your partner because you're not doing well,
Right.
right? That's why this is like the key to everything. Oops, why am I always going back? Okay. And so now that we know estrogen, we also have progesterone, and as you learned, it's the yin and yang, right? It's the other side of it, and it kicks in at ovulation. So I'm going to show you a little bit. I'm going to explain to you when estrogen is dominant and when progesterone is dominant. And progesterone is especially important for females that want to get pregnant. So a lot of times you will hear that women that, for example, have a miscarriage within the first 12 weeks is because their progesterone wasn't high enough, right? And so this is usually when you go to the doctor. I don't know how the specialist is called. If you want to get pregnant, you want to make sure that you are producing enough progesterone, right? This is like the key for it. So yeah, just as an important factor, because I actually had a woman in my program. She was postpartum, like I think 3 months, and she had a pregnant friend, and a friend that wanted to become pregnant, and she shared all of this info with her. And it really helped her, save a lot of costs going to doctors, helping her, because she knew how to do it the right way with this information, right? Because again, we're not getting taught about this. While estrogen is responsible to maintain bones, progesterone helps build new bones, right? So it also boosts your metabolism, which increases your body temperature and also raises your appetite. So what that means is that progesterone is the dominant hormone before your period comes, which explains why you're so hungry before your period comes, right? Sometimes we're like feeling so guilty because we're eating like double the amount of food. It's because you actually need more food, right? It's because you're burning more calories. And so what happens when you, for example, go on a very strict diet and you have the same amount of calories you're supposed to eat throughout the month, you can damage your hormonal health because you're supposed to be eating different amounts of calories throughout the month, right? And so progesterone also helps with sleep, relaxes the muscle, and of course, if there is no pregnancy that occurred during ovulation, the progesterone is going to drop and you're going to get your bleed. Yeah. So I'm just checking time because you know me, I talk a lot.
You're fine.
So I don't want to rush, but I also don't want to make this too long. So just for women that are going through perimenopause or menopause, it's important to just understand that women in their menopause have a more difficult time metabolizing fructose, which is fruit sugar, and that means that less of that fructose can be converted into glucose, and glucose is your number one source of energy that we use, right? And so when that is the case, we're not able to digest it well, and so that's why many women later on struggle with things like cramping, bloating, or similar issues. So you want to make sure that you reduce the amount of especially simple carbohydrates, and increase the amount of good quality protein in your diet, right? And I already mentioned the estrogen fluctuating, so especially when you're perimenopause, you already want to start really focusing on the nutrition aspect, and increasing your fat intake, your good fat intake, and your protein can really just help in balancing all of that out and giving your body exactly what it needs during this time. So just pay attention. And a lot of times it's very easy to eat a lot of carbs, so stay away a little bit from the simple carbs, include more vegetables, include more the whole grains, and see how that changes for you. And yeah, that's going to help you with your estrogen as well. So I love this. The 4 phases of the menstrual cycle. I actually just asked in my Insta stories today, does anyone know about the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle? Some people know, some people have never heard about this. So I'm gonna give you a quick rundown, and then we will go a little bit deeper into the 4 phases. So we have the follicular, ovulatory, luteal, menstrual phase. And I like to see them as the seasons that we go through. The follicular phase being spring. This is just when you stop your period. Then we move into the ovulatory phase, which is summertime, when we feel really great, and summer, most of us feel great during summer, I hope. Then we move into the luteal phase, which is the autumn time, the time where we are more turned inwards. It's getting cold, we need more time alone or time inside. And then the menstrual phase, which is the winter phase, where we need a lot more rest and just stay with us, right? And not use so much energy outwards, like you're probably not spending so much time with people, but more with yourself. And so this is a good overview that really helped me just always understand why I feel a certain way. When I look at this image, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, because I'm in my autumn phase, or because I'm in my summertime, or winter time. And so this is just for you to understand as well how your hormones fluctuate and why you feel a certain way. So having a look at estrogen, progesterone, you will see that estrogen is the dominant hormone in the first half of your cycle. Okay, this is where you're going follicular and ovulatory phase. And this is why you usually feel really good after your period stopped. And then you see it slowly increases as well during the second half of the cycle, but it doesn't go that high. On the other hand, you have progesterone, which is very, very low during the first half, and then it dominates usually during the second half of the phase. And this explains why we feel the way we feel. Now, oftentimes what happens is that women might not have so much progesterone, but also might still have the same amount of progesterone or estrogen or more estrogen during this time, right? Or they have a hard time producing enough progesterone, or they have too much, right? They have their bodies have just too much, and it spikes a lot here. So these are just a couple of things that, I think you should remember in terms of like, these two hormones, especially because this image has helped me just understand so much about myself and how to work with myself the right way. So going to the follicular phase, this is the phase, as I've already mentioned. It starts right when your period ends, and it can last within a 28-day cycle of, will last about 7 to 10 days. And during this time, literally all of your hormone levels are starting to rise, right? But progesterone, as you already saw, remains very low. And because of estrogen being the dominant hormone here, we usually feel really good during this time. And I'm going to give you a couple of more info as to how you can use, your life and how to adapt it the right way, so that you're literally, planning the right activities and planning the right things for you to use this phase the most.
And how can, just sorry, real quick, and how can maybe like when you go through each of the phases, how can a person's partner also support them during this time?
Yes, I love this question. I think, listening to this, understanding that, like, first of all, as a man, and, my man knows it that as well because I had to teach him, that I'm not a linear being and that there are four phases. So just for men to understand that there are four phases and to, I would say just have the communication with the woman as well, because of course, if you're listening to this for the first time, this is new information for you, right? So don't expect for yourself to be perfect from the start. Like that's not the purpose of this. It's really the purpose of this is just to get to know yourself better and understand what's happening in each phase, right? Once you get to know yourself better, I think that's a better point to then share it with the partner. Because when you're not sure yet yourself, it's going to be hard to communicate it, and of course it's going to confuse especially men. It's going to confuse them a little bit more because it's completely new information to them. They can't look into our bodies, right? So just communication, telling them, hey, I learned this. Why I am like this right now is because I'm in this phase. I would love for you to support me throughout this phase. And I think the biggest phase to support women in is the luteal phase, which I'm gonna be covering after the slide or the slide after, because this is when women struggle the most, when women need a lot more alone time, right? And so, how I did it with my partner is like, I tell him like, hey, I'm in my ovulatory phase. We need to be extra careful because I'm not planning to get pregnant, right? Or I am about to, approach my luteal phase, and during this phase, I'm not ready to like just jump into bed like this. I need a little bit more time. I need a little bit more, support, emotional support. I might need a little bit of alone time as well, right? So these are ways to like put it that way and just really, really communicate that. So during the follicular phase, possibly he will know or she will know, right? Depending on your partner and of course how they are going to take the information on and how much they want to learn about it, right? That's very important that you like communicate it in a way that you feel comfortable as well. And so again, the follicular phase is like usually the easiest phase of the month, and women love to be in this phase. I love to be in this phase. I'm like, yes, finally, finally I can do it. Right. And ovulatory phase is very similar to that. It's like it happens, around midway through the cycle, and it can change depending on stress. So for example, to me, after such a long time, I'm having a later cycle because I had to take antibiotics because I had a surgery. And so my cycle is now, a little bit later because of stress that was going on. And I haven't had this happen to me since I was doing this work. So to me, this is an opportunity for me to look more inwards and be like, okay, how can I now support my body the best way? What is it telling me, right? Do I need to slow down? I told you as well just before this call, I'm like, wow, this week has been long, right? I'm having so many, like maybe you can hear my voice, like I feel like I'm losing my voice because I've been talking so much for the last 3 days, right?
Yeah.
And so, checking in with yourself and being like, okay, how can I give my body the rest that it needs right now without feeling like you're missing out on something, right? Whereas in the ovulatory phase, this is a phase to really like go out there and do stuff. Usually you feel a lot, really, really great because your estrogen is high and your energy levels are high and your mood's stable, usually. But if you do have an excess level of estrogen, you can see that when you don't feel that great around this phase, right? When you maybe also you get breakouts, acne, right? And when you feel like your moods are not stable and you actually feel like shit, right? So just pay attention to that if that happens throughout this time. And as I already said, this is the time where you're most fertile. And of course, make sure you are extra careful if you do not want to get pregnant. If you do want to get pregnant, this is the time to do it. And usually the phase can last around 5 to 8 days because sperm can survive longer in your discharge and your mucus, right? So you just want to make sure that even if you think you're safe, you want to make sure you're doing it the right way, let's say, right? So take the extra days around your ovulation as well if you don't want to risk it at all.
How
Um,
long can sperm sometimes last inside of you still for the people out there that are unaware?
So I would say usually like 5 days max, but I like to go up to 8 days just to be like super, super, super safe because it's different, right? Some people have longer cycles, some people have shorter cycles. So now I have a longer cycle, so my days will change as well, right? The length of it, because what that means is usually your follicular phase is shorter, so
Uh-huh.
your ovulation comes a lot quicker because the luteal phase is always the same amount of time, usually stays the same if your hormones are balanced. The phase that changes in length is the follicular phase. So the follicular phase can change in length, and so
Interesting.
depending on when you get it, when you ovulate, of course, once you enter the follicular phase, you can already be fertile like 4 days in, because if you ovulate 3 days later and you see your discharge changing, so pay attention to it as well, what kind of consistency it has, because it changes for sperm to, of course, be safe and survive. You will see what is changing, and pay attention to what's going on, right? So that's why you want to be careful. My follicular phase is longer, so I know I'm safer for longer before I enter ovulation, if that makes sense. Okay, so then the luteal phase, which is the phase between ovulation and before menstruation, and this is where our bodies prepare for a possible pregnancy, and it's usually the longest phase in our cycle. And this is the phase where most women struggle with PMS, right? I feel like I don't have to tell you what PMS is because we all know what PMS is, and every woman struggles with it differently, right? So it's premenstrual syndrome for those of you who don't know, and there are many symptoms that you can have. For me, my biggest symptoms used to be, as I already mentioned, breast tenderness, but also mood changes quite a lot and energy changes, right? I didn't really struggle with acne. Bloating wouldn't be really connected with PMS for me, but these were some of the signs where I knew, okay, PMS is real for me. And so just pay attention. Like, if you really want to get in touch with your body, just track your symptoms. Don't only track your period when it comes once a month, but track the symptoms that you experience if you really want to become aware of what's going on.
Definitely.
After the luteal phase, you enter the menstrual phase, which usually lasts about 5 to 6 days. Some women have longer periods, some women have shorter periods. Of course, it shouldn't go for longer than a week. Then I would love for you to make sure everything is fine. But also for me, I used to have super long periods. They would go longer than a week, and now they're usually around 3 to 4 days, and I'm done, which is amazing. And I never thought it would be possible for me. I never thought it would be possible for me. So this was a great, great change. Yeah, and what happens, of course, is the unfertilized egg, because if you didn't get pregnant, will break apart, and all of your hormone levels are at the lowest point during this phase. So you want to make sure that you're aware of it, right? You're not meant to be pushing through this phase. Your hormone levels are at the lowest. You're at a rest mode. You are in winter mode, right? You will probably not, I mean, people go on a run when it's snowing. Never understood that because I don't. I don't run. Um, but for the normal people that don't run, will probably not go on a run, right? When it's snowing outside, right? So just like see winter as like the cozy time where like you're watching TV or you're watching a fireplace and like you're having your hot chocolate and like just snuggling in, that's kind of the way you want to see the menstrual phase when you need the most rest. And again, I never did that. I burned out very quickly because I didn't know how to do it the right way.
So partners are like lots of snuggling and like nurturing and a lot of grace and just sweetness.
A lot of rest, a lot of sleep, a lot of easy like work on my mind, right? Nothing too complicated, nothing that is too much, like just really easy stuff. I like to listen to like healing music during this time if I feel like I'm extra tired. I like take a nap and I listen to like high frequency, sounds, and just enjoy being in the present moment and not feeling like I have to push all the time, right? So usually when I know my period is coming, I try to have most of the day off. So I will reschedule, I will cancel if I have to. And because I did that, I was able to get the cycle that I have now. But if you cannot, which happens as well, it will happen to me as well, it's just important that you still have enough rest and that you take those breaks if you need to, that you literally put them into your calendar, like 10-minute break, breath work, or like food or nap time, whatever it is for you, and try to not spend too much time on people but on yourself, right?
Right.
But I'm going to get into it just in a second. So this is just a beautiful overview for you to see kind of what happens in each phase and how to support yourself the best way. So of course you have the follicular phase, which I already described. Like usually you will feel good, moods are stable, you will have less anxiety. Ovulatory phase, you will have higher energy, stable moods, you're probably more outgoing as well. The luteal phase is where you have PMS and you're probably more on like going inwards. And then you have the menstrual phase, which is like you might be feeling tired, sluggish, and pain. And here on the next slides, I'm going to give you some real great tips on how to really really use this for, this took me a long time to put all of this together because I didn't understand this in the beginning. I was like, okay, this is what changed my life. This is what changed the way I live my life. This is what changed my work life. In the follicular phase, you want to make sure that, the theme here is creativity, new beginnings, planning, initiating. So in life, it's really about new beginnings, manifesting things, setting new intentions, setting new goals, right? Because your brain is very sharp. It's very open for new things. You just had this death experience. You were just like bleeding, letting go of things. So this is a new expansiveness that you're under. There are new possibilities coming your ways, right? So it's very easy for you to take action and get results during this time. This is not a time for you to make excuses and overthink. This is a time for you to just do it, right? Amazing time to step out of the comfort zone, right? So if you want to try a new dance class, if you, I don't know, have been scared to talk to this one person that you find attractive, whatever it is, step out of your comfort zone, just do it, right? We are a lot more social during this time, a lot more patient. As I already mentioned, you have stable moods, you will have higher energy. So do things that you usually dread doing, like cleaning. I hate cleaning. So during my follicular phase, surprisingly, I feel like I can do it and it doesn't feel too bad, right? You also want to continue with your meditation or any other, any other self-care journey that you're on. A lot of times what I see is women feel so great during this time. They're like, oh, I don't need my practices. I'm going to just let it go. But you want to continue with it because it's still a part of you. And again, if you do have too much estrogen, you might be feeling a little bit of anxiety because it's so much. And it also happens in the ovulatory phase. So you still want to continue with these practices. Now, in terms of work, it's very similar, right? You want to set new goals for work, if it's monthly, yearly, whatever it is, and you're going to have an easier time putting ideas together and connecting them, strategizing them, and creating a bigger picture for yourself, right? So this is, for example, a time where I like to do my vision boards. This is a time where I want to look further into the year, what's coming, right? What do I want to create? Here also, I get out of my comfort zone, right? So when I'm scared to write this one person or to go on a live with someone or whatever it is, I try to schedule it around this time because I feel a lot more confident. You also have more patience, as I mentioned, and here's same thing. Do tasks that you usually have a hard time doing, and this is really the time for you to focus on a big vision, right? And also possibly block out your calendar to use it. And you will see that the ovulatory phase is very similar to that. They're both very connected, but still a little bit different. Here in the ovulatory phase, it's really about connection and rise. So again, you will probably feel a lot more extroverted during this time, and you will have a lot more energy and a lot more excitement. You might be having a little inner voice telling you, oh yeah, listen to your big dreams. There are things that will probably you will have downloads about again, don't be scared about them. Like, just do it. Like, figure out a way to make them happen. Um, Also, a great time to actually go out. If you want to party, if you want to meet friends, if you want to go on dates, this is a really great time to do that. Fun fact, you're better at communication because of your brain structures changing. So if you need a important conversation, either way at work or with a partner, with your mom, with whoever is in your life, this is a great time to do that because probably the way you're going to communicate is going to be a lot easier for you. Fun fact, you're more attractive to others as women because our body odor changes the way we smell. So I noticed that about my partner. For some reason in the ovulatory phase, he doesn't stop, being around me in a way that is very annoying. Um, but it can happen, right? Pay attention. I notice it, and he always asks me, "Are you ovulating right now?" Because I like it's different, and I'm like, "Yes, I am, always." So actually, of course, you also naturally have a higher sex drive because you're most fertile, and biologically speaking, all your body wants to do is make a baby, right? So enjoy, I guess. That's what I can share.
I definitely feel that. Like, yeah, when I'm ovulating, I just really want to rip everybody's clothes off. Like, for sure. It's like it's bad.
Are you though? Are you? I hope
I,
not.
I I'm just like, oh my God, it's so hard. No, I don't get to do that. But the feeling is like deeply being experienced, just like walking around with a calm face, but on the inside, just like
But beautiful awareness, right? That you actually like get to experience that because it's true. Like, pay attention to that. The ones that are listening, if that happens to you too. And yeah, I mean, as you see, it's all connected in terms of work as well. Like, this is really the time to like brainstorm, be creative, create new ideas for yourself as well, right? Really show up. This is the time for you to grow and like show up at a workplace if you have your own business or if you work, in a beautiful company that you love, like whatever it is. And here as well, focus on connections with people and collaborations. This is a really great time to like do more with other people because you will have the energy to do so. Which is then the opposite when we go into the luteal phase. This is really the time where you should be nurturing, focusing on completing more things, right? So you will see life's gonna change a little bit. So allow yourself to slow down here. Don't push when you don't need to push, right? Still implement healing routines. So the meditation, journaling, yoga, whatever it is for you, pay attention to that. Also listen to your body's needs, right? Check in with yourself every morning and ask yourself, what is it that I need today? What is it that my body is craving? Now, of course, as I already mentioned, your energies turn inward. And if you don't honor that, you will probably feel a lot more irritated. You will deplete your energy a lot more because all you do is give and you're not receiving. You're not giving yourself back. So you want to make sure if you have to give, like I have to give right now, even though I'm in my luteal phase, I spend at least half the time giving back, right?
yeah.
So that I feel, I will nurture my body with good foods. I will rest. I will, sleep longer. Whatever it is that I need, I will give myself. It's a good time to organize yourself, right? Because you have an easier time organizing your thoughts. So either way, organizing physical things or organizing your thoughts is really good because you might be feeling like also there's a lot going on in your head and a lot of like anxiety, maybe a lot of thoughts rushing. So you want to take out a piece of paper or your journal and write it up. Otherwise, you might be going crazy, right?
Yeah.
Also, resting without guilt, right? When needed, which is a huge thing. I had to learn this because, oh my God, resting, I couldn't do it without feeling guilty. It's a process. And some days it's still easier than other days, right? Some days I really have to push myself, be like, you can allow yourself to rest. And some days it happens naturally. So you will see what works best. You also want to make sure you avoid stress because that will make PMS worse. Of course, it's not always possible, but what you can do is, implementing your healing routines, right? So staying grounded as much as possible. Here at work as well, you will probably have a sense that your productivity is going to drop, right? So you probably also have a desire to slow down. And so what you want to do more of is completing projects and goals instead of feeling like you have to do, just be more, right? So what I like to do during this time is read a lot more, watch a lot more videos, do things that don't require me to, mentally focus so much, but just really absorb more stuff and not feel like I constantly have to like, give so much, right? Um, what else? You want to also, what I like to do during this time is like doing administrative tasks like taxes, because it's very easy on me. I don't have to think that much, right? I'm just like, okay, whatever, this number, whatever, I do that. Finishing tasks as well. So any task that you started in like the beginning of the month, you can finish throughout this month. And if you can, which of course it's not always possible, like, in my case, I did have some things that I had to do during this month, during this week. But if you can, stay away from big presentations, networking. So again, here, this is a phase for me where, okay, if I have this presentation now or this workshop or different things, I make sure I don't meet too many people outside of work, right? I even tell my partner, like, he likes to talk a lot. And sometimes it's like, can you like one moment silence? That's how I do it with him. I'm like, just give me one moment where like, because when I stop work, I will meet him, and then he starts talking about work, and I'm like, my brain cannot digest it. I cannot listen to him. It's not possible. So I just tell him like, let's go on a walk, breathe, and then I will be able to listen. And this is how you can also work with your partner. The better you know yourself, because in the beginning, we used to fight because he didn't understand what was going on. I was irritated AF, right? Because like I would like scream at him because I was so annoyed, and I didn't understand why. Now I know, so I just communicated with him. I'm like, hey, listen, I just need more time. Let me breathe for a second. Let's go on a walk, fresh air. Let's eat something, because if I'm hungry, it's worse. So I just tried to really, make it a safe space for both of us. And since then, we didn't have problems. But before that, the luteal phase was the time where we would always fight, because I didn't understand what was going on inside of me. He didn't understand. He tried to push more, and he would push me more away because he tried to talk to me more. That was making it worse for me, because I couldn't organize my own thoughts. And here he was trying to help me, So this can happen. And then you go into the menstrual phase, which is pretty much just you really allowing yourself to slow down, rest, and listen. You will probably feel that you're a lot more introverted, so you want to make sure you are creating boundaries for yourself, right? Very similar to what I just shared with the luteal phase as well, right? So make sure you schedule also intentional rest. As I said, sometimes it's just not possible to take a whole day off, right? And I understand. So if you can, have a longer morning routine. Have the evening for yourself. Schedule rest in between if you can, right? And make it a non-negotiable. Learn to say no and don't push yourself. I literally had clients, they had to tell their bosses like, I cannot do it right now. I'm not feeling well. This is not for me. And this was a great way of stepping up, right? And telling them like, hey, I'm on my period, I'm tired, I just cannot do it. And again, we should normalize that more. That's very, very important. What else? So here again, you're letting go of the old and welcoming the new. So it's a beautiful time to reflect on your life, on your career, on your relationships, and see what it is that you want to attract, what it is that you want to let go of, and just tapping into your intuitive feminine energy and seeing what feels right and what doesn't, because it's a very sacred time where you're like literally letting go of things that no longer serve you, right? At work, what I like to do is planning ahead, right? So when I know on the day I'm getting my period, I like to plan ahead and see how I can structure things around that I have as much rest as possible. And if there's no way to reschedule, as I said, schedule intentional breaks. Ask yourself if there is a way to delegate. So what I do as well, I have a team, so I would just ask my assistant coach and be like, hey, can you do more of these things today just because I'm on my period or whatever, right? Or I move it into a later time, and I tell my clients, hey, I cannot have this call with you today. I'm sorry, let's move it to another day. And because I do that, they learn it the same way, and then they respect their own needs, right? So you have to become the example. Don't be scared to share your needs, because it's going to just show the world that it's okay to do so. And I think this is a very, very important part. And authenticity is huge as well, right? So that's why, like, I literally try to do what I preach, right? Because I could teach this and live a complete different lifestyle, which I think is not great, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, here again, if you feel you might feel like you want to set new intentions for yourself, right? This is a really great time to just reflect on your job situation as well, maybe on your business if you have one, right? And see, is this still serving me? Do I want to try something else? I want to go in a different direction, kind of what I shared with you as well, what I'm doing as well, right? This can be a great time for you to just see these things even clearer. So yeah, getting to the end of it, how to track your cycle, I would always suggest using the fertility awareness method, right? So the symptoms that you can track besides that, the fertility awareness method is basically a method where you track your basal body temperature every single morning. And you can use an app that is synced directly to the thermometer, or you can just buy a thermometer at the pharmacy and write it down yourself. And in this way, with doing this the right way, you're going to be able to see which phase of the cycle you're in and how to support your body the best way. You should also be tracking, besides the body, the temperature, your symptoms, kind of what I said as well. Write it all down, what you feel, right? How do you feel today? Why? And all of these things. There's nothing, like, there's no wrong information. There's just too little if you don't do that, right?
Yeah.
And this way you're going to really get a good connection with yourself. And there's a tool that I like to use, which is Daisy. This is what I'm saying here as well. And it actually has, it's a very great tool. There are many different things out there, so you should see what works best for you. But they have, the way of having a 99.4% accuracy of telling you when you're fertile, when you're not, right? So I would definitely suggest, if you're just starting out, make sure you use a tool that is well presented on the market, because if you're very new to it, you want to make sure you're doing it the right way, especially if you like, not wanting to get pregnant, right? So yeah, as a summary, very important to learn how to track your cycle. Understand what happens in each phase, start syncing with your cycle, and of course, if you want to take it a step further, syncing your nutrition training with your cycle, which again would completely we would talk you for 2 hours. I can give you a quick rundown, and I think you already mentioned that as well. It's very similar in terms of training to what you just learned with work and life. You will see how your energy is there, right? So of course, on the days when your estrogen is high and your mood is stable and your energy is there to go with work, you can also do workouts that feel like you need more energy. Things like strength training, running, HIIT workouts, dancing, whatever increases your heart rate, right? Whereas towards the end of the cycle, when you're, in the luteal phase, this is when you can slow down a lot more, doing more like yoga, things that don't increase your heart rate that much. I like to go on walks a lot, right? So I really learned how to not push my body the best, the way that, I work against it. And in terms of nutrition, also very similar. I already said to you, you shouldn't be following the same amount of calories every single day, just because it's not natural. On some of the days you're going to be moving more, on some of the days you're going to be moving less. And again, as I mentioned, the phase before your period starts, you're burning more calories, so you should be eating more. But the types of food also depend, right? So allow yourself to eat still nutritious foods. Don't go into like, okay, then I'm gonna just eat more junk food, or I'm gonna eat more donuts. That can make your PMS worse, right? Even though you're craving it, what you're craving is quick sources of energy. And you can give yourself this energy with the right nutrition as well, right? So focusing just on denser meals, good, vegetables, a lot of whole grains, good protein sources, good fat sources, where it's really like warm-hearted meals, instead of like going for the light salads or smoothies. This is more in the first half of the phase. So I like to always eat like that, and that's how I usually do it. So yeah, and at the end, I think I already teased it a little bit. I'm so excited about this program. If you're, I actually, wanted to give you, that everyone is listening, a 5% discount coming from here. And I'm also going to be donating a part of it to an Ukrainian organization because of what's happening. From everyone that joins my program this month, I will be donating. So you're doing something good for yourself and for the world. And this is the program that I mentioned. It's a 6-week live training program. It's 5 workshops led by me, 5 recorded workshops, and 1 live workshop led by my beautiful friend Lara, who is a human design coach. And she's also going to be having a 1 recorded workshop. And so the way that we've created this is really about you learning everything about the cycle, how to sync with your cycle, with all of the aspects, moving through stress and trauma, working through subconscious blockers, embodying your future self with, I call it pussification, and like sexual energy and embodiment. I love that. And then at the end, you're connecting human design, which has never been done before. It's a very new thing, to your menstrual cycle. So you literally have it all in like 1 package, which I'm just very excited about. And we're starting very soon, 30th of March. So again, everyone that comes from here, send me a message. I have, I have all of these are my before and after pictures from my clients. And this is, if you're not like, oh, is it for me? You can just book a call with me and just like talk to me and connect with me and see if this is for you. And this is where you can find me, my email, Instagram, and website if you want to just connect with me as well and ask me more questions.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much for all this amazing content, Jessica. I really appreciate it. And also for you donating to the Ukraine in part from your upcoming program. It is, yeah, it's a really beautiful thing that you're doing. And thank you so much for offering 5% off to anybody from the group. That's incredibly kind of you.
Thank you so
Um, yeah, you're very welcome. It's such a journey to just life, and meeting our bodies as well as our minds, the greatest ability that we can. So the last question we always have on the show is, who inspires you in the world today?
Yes. So you were like, you have to answer that question. I was like, shit, who is that? So I think the person that inspires me the most in the world today is my coach. She's Tina
Mm,
Khan. And her coach is Bob Proctor, or used to be Bob Proctor. I don't know if you know Bob Proctor. He
yeah.
passed away a couple of weeks ago. So I'm doing his program because it's part of my coach's program. And my coach is so amazing because, I've worked now with her for, it's going to be 5 months. And she's so mentally strong, seeing where she comes from to where she is now, helping so many people create their dream lives. Like, it really inspires me, the ripple effect that she creates. And that's why I love what I do, is because about this ripple effect, right? People are gonna watch this and are gonna share this and are gonna be like, oh my god, I learned this. And it's not only about, becoming this huge business person or whatever. It's really about, like, when you go out there and you share your passion with the world is gonna see you, and you're gonna, even if it's inspiring one person at a time, this is what's going to change the world, because it creates always a ripple effect, right? I always say, when you heal yourself, you heal the world. And I see this in her so much, because she has become so mentally strong with the work that we're all doing together, that I just think it's incredible. And this is something that I'm working towards, of not feeling down on, I used to feel so down all of the time. I used to be so mean to myself. I used to always want to become better and work more and achieve more. And I forgot, what I've already done, and that is all coming. The way she's doing it is she trusts herself, and she trusts that it's all there and it's all gonna be happening for her. And that's something that, I really admire, because that is a lot of work on your mental. The whole reprogramming, all of that is something that, I really see in her. And again, how many people, I see literally the growth in her and the people that come into these programs, and I've seen it in myself as well. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And hopefully we can have you put her link in the comment section next to the video, so that other people can go and find her and potentially be inspired or connect with her for coaching as well.
I'm
So
actually gonna have her on my podcast as well. I have a podcast which is called the Planning for Goddess podcast, and I actually just asked her yesterday if she would like to be a guest on my podcast, and she said yes. So stay tuned. There's gonna be a beautiful podcast episode coming up with her, because you're gonna love it. You will have to love it, because it's incredible.
no, that's fantastic. Yeah, make sure to share it in our group on Phoenix Rising Women's Group. I would love to get to support everybody out there that's making a difference in the world today and providing resources. Yeah,
Yes.
you're very welcome. So thank you again so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate your candor and your wisdom and sharing part of your journey for everybody out there.
Thank you as well for having me. I loved being on here. I hope this could at least help one person, right?
We had
um,
at least a couple watching live. So yeah, I'm sure that people got some great information out of it. And yeah, so anybody out there who you're watching, if you'd like to be on the show and share your story and your wisdom, or if you'd like to come see me for empowerment coaching or confidence coaching, please feel free to contact me at www.globalequineaffiliates.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Elysia Buss. And of course, the two different YouTube channels, which you may or may not see this on, because there's two of them, is Horsepower Empowerment Through Connection and Global Resources for Men. So as always, everybody, thanks for watching. And until next time, we will see you later. Bye.